Safe and efficient, high standards of professionalism are required from both aircrew and ship personnel. Prior to approach, command approval is required for the conduct of aircraft operations. This helicopter has been given a green deck and is slowing down as it approaches the flight deck. The pilot manoeuvres the aircraft over the landing circle and touches down. This is the most critical part of the evolution as the helicopter is unsecured on the moving deck. The pilot signals on lashings, and following the flight deck marshaller's order, the flight team moves out to the helicopter and applies the lashings. Notice the team moves in and out as a unit at a fast walking pace. Movement under the rotor disc is strictly controlled by the marshaller. Operations utilising tie-down chains, which are required for larger and heavier aircraft, are controlled by the marshaller in the same manner. When the aircraft is ready to launch, the pilot signals the marshaller, who in turn gives the order to his team to move out and remove the lashings. If one of the team removes his lashings quickly, he waits at the front of the helicopter until the remainder of the team has finished. The marshaller then signals the team to move back towards the hangar. The lashing numbers now move toward the marshaller and line up beside him, holding their lashings aloft to be recounted by the marshaller and aircrew. When the aircrew have counted the lashings, have been given a green deck and are happy to proceed, the marshaller will then signal the aircraft to climb. The aircraft then climbs to the hopper position and moves away to the windward side of the ship. Operations for larger helicopters are carried out in a similar manner. The flight deck team should constantly be aware of the other team members and the marshaller. Wheeled helicopters require chocks, which are to remain in place during the launch. Dependent on conditions, intermediate lashings are used to ensure the security of the aircraft on deck. Movement of the aircraft on deck requires command approval and is strictly controlled by the marshaller. Caution must always be exercised whilst moving the aircraft on deck. The marshaller calls stop once the aircraft is in position, and the flight deck team immediately apply lashings. Long-term lashings are generally applied when securing the aircraft in the hangar. Once the aircraft has been secured with lashings, command is informed of the lashing state of the aircraft. Vertical replenishment is the transfer of stores or equipment between ships using aerial delivery equipment. The approach will be slow as the air crew attempt to keep the load from swinging. The air crewman will indicate that he's ready to proceed by giving the thumbs up sign. The marshaller will clear the loading and earthing numbers out to the helicopter to earth and unhook the load. If being disconnected by the flight deck team, loads must be earthed with an earthing pole prior to anyone touching them. This is to prevent any residual static electricity discharging through the person. Dangerous air cargo, such as ammunition, explosives and fuels, must be earthed prior to touching the flight deck. Dangerous air cargo must be earthed above the load. After the load has been earthed, the loading number disconnects the load from the helicopter strop or hook. Once their job is complete, they'll be marshalled from the area. By this time, the helicopter should have moved away from the flight deck. On occasions, the air crew may decide to release the load from the helicopter themselves. This will only happen if it's not a dangerous air cargo load. In this case, the flight deck team merely observe the evolution and move out to clear the load when the helicopter has departed. Many RAN ships are also capable of conducting VERTREP forward, except for the fact that it's conducted in the more cluttered forecastle environment, requiring the load to be delivered to a smaller area. The evolution itself is unchanged. Note the position of the marshaller and his team. The flight deck team should be aware of the close proximity of the different hazards that are encountered on the forecastle, including guardrails, missile launchers, protruding hatches, and the increased slope of the deck. In addition, the pitch is often accentuated on the forecastle, so the amount of deck movement is also a safety consideration. The earthing number will earth the helicopter cargo hook or strop before the load is connected. Depending on whether the helicopter has a lifting strop and the type of strop, it'll either hover at 5 feet or 15 feet above the load. As soon as the load is hooked on, the marshaller will then order the hookup team away from the area before the aircraft picks up the load. For passenger transfer, the aircraft is positioned over the flight deck by the marshaller. The air crewman signals they're happy to proceed with the transfer, and the flight deck team and passenger are directed out to the aircraft. The winch cable is lowered and must be earthed prior to handling by the flight deck team. The hook must be under positive control at all times. The strop is placed over the passenger's head and under their armpits. Once checked, the passenger is lifted clear of the deck and then winched into the aircraft. The flight deck team are then directed from underneath the aircraft by the marshaller, and the aircraft departs clear of the ship. An aircraft crash on deck may occur following a pan or mayday call from a helicopter, or could occur completely unalerted. A crash on deck poses shrapnel, fire and fuel spill hazards. If an aircraft crashes on deck, the flight deck fire team will make a door entry via the hangar door to the flight deck. The fire team consists of an IC, a water wall member, and an AFFF attack hose member. The fire teams are to keep low and are to be aware that once the fire has been extinguished, all spilt aviation fuel is to be washed off the flight deck to remove any further risk of reflash. The Standing Sea Fire Brigade, or a repair base fire team, is to join the flight deck team as soon as possible and is to assist in the firefighting effort. If the aircrew are unable to shut down the aircraft's engines, the fire team is to direct AFFF into the engine intakes. The Theanaut Supermen are to take up position behind the IC of the fire team and are to assist in hose handling until directed by the IC to extract the trapped aircrew from the aircraft. He may use any means to ensure safe, timely rescue of the aircrew. During high sea states, progressive movement of the aircraft will be required using MC1 nylon lashings. Teamwork and strict control by the marshaller is essential. The progressive move involves the movement of the aircraft with a minimum of 4 lashings attached to the aircraft at all times. A progressive move is a complex evolution and takes practice to perfect.
Come ahead, 864.
The flight deck has many markings, each with a specific purpose. Flight deck markings are all painted using a white non-skid paint. The peripheral line denotes the area of the flight deck which is free from obstructions. The landing circle is the area where the aircraft are to place their forward wheels or skids during landing. The T-line indicates the area after which vertical replenishment and transfer is to take place. Line-up lines indicate to the pilot the correct orientation of the aircraft upon landing. Helicopter in-flight refuelling, the HIFA spot, indicates to the pilot the approximate position above which the aircraft is to hover. HIFA fuel hoses are also flaked out adjacent to the spot prior to the HIFA commencing. Flight deck markings are an essential part of helicopter operations and as such should be kept in good condition at all times. This also applies to the general condition of the flight deck paintwork, as it has non-slip properties essential to the safe conduct of helicopter operations. Helicopter operations to small ships are hazardous and should be undertaken only by those who have been trained in the correct techniques. If these are used, then the risk to ship and personnel is greatly reduced. Safe helicopter operations should be the aim of all personnel.